Hi, my name is Charleen Sims, and this is my book Summary of the Power of Habit, Part 2 for Family and Community Nursing, or Nursing 70/20. So, first, we were asked to discuss how habits are formed within a family and to provide an example of that. Um, any habit formation, again, goes back to a feedback loop called the Golden Rule, where there is some sort of cue, some sort of routine, and a reward that ultimately is perpetuated by a craving for something that makes you carry out the same routine. So, one example of a common habit within families would be eating unhealthy eating at fast food restaurants. The book talks about how many fast food chains keep their advertising consistent, keep their outward appearance consistent in order to create that familiarity and to target that cue or trigger that cue within their clientele. So, for example, the characteristic red and yellow building of McDonald's may serve as a cue. Um, so, the cue may be the building itself. The sense of familiarity, reward would be after having satisfied that craving for fast food with the routine. Another example we were asked to discuss was how habits are formed within a community. So the book also talks about how Target and how other businesses or stores are able to target community members into acting on certain buying habits. Through essentially watching demographics, mapping demographics, and matching them with advertisements for items that they're likely to buy. It talks about marketing to pregnant women, to divorced women, single versus in a relationship, etc. To send them advertisements and coupons for things that they're most likely to buy that would improve profit for the store. Another example the book provides is how habits are formed within an organization. And I think this is important to mention. It discusses how habits at a certain hospital affected patient safety, and specifically how the culture of tension between nursing and physician staff ultimately resulted in timeouts or an essential patient safety measure within surgeries that are meant to reduce errors and sentinel events were being ignored and were not being carried out, or were being carried out incompletely or incorrectly. And it led to patient safety and led to impaired patient safety and to ultimately to patient deaths and significant medical errors until the company revamped its safety measures and ultimately its culture related to safety, and was able to completely change how their patient outcomes were and ultimately how nursing staff and physicians felt about working at the hospital itself. Another example the book talks about habits is just the essentially the power of willpower and how that creates positive habits within our lives. How children who had willpower in a study just to resist a marshmallow, which seems trivial, were followed later in life, and the same patients same children that exhibited willpower in that study also showed higher test grades, higher academic success, personal and professional success, and satisfaction, college acceptance, etc. Because of that willpower that they had demonstrated through the study. So I thought that was interesting and important to address. The final thing I'd like to discuss is how the book talks about basically preparedness for certain unfortunate events. Two examples being how Starbucks teaches their employees to essentially plan in their mind how they will respond to negative customer interactions, so that when they're dealing with such an instance, it's really muscle memory, and they have a good response to the situation. It also discusses how we can plan ahead for disasters in that same way, how patients are successful in their rehab goals by planning and anticipating areas that are most difficult during their recovery, and mapping out how they'll respond in order to be most successful and carry out the necessary measures to appropriately recover, like from a hip surgery or knee surgery, etc. So I thought that that was important. That can be applied to us in nursing practice as well, as we consider how we respond to unfortunate situations at the hospital, whether it be with our patients or with our family members that we're caring for. If we can plan ahead and anticipate those, our response can be more of like muscle memory or a routine in and of itself, or a habit that we do, versus an emotional or split-minute response to a situation that may or may not be leading to a great outcome. So I found that very interesting. Again, this was my summary for part 2 of The Power of Habit for Nursing 7020. Thank you for listening.